You know that version of you that keeps saying yes because it feels easier, safer, polite, or because somewhere along the way you learned that your value was measured by how much you give. Yeah, that version of you is exhausted. And if we're honest, it's probably the one that people take for granted the most. But something changes, quietly, almost invisibly, when you stop being available for everything and everyone. The world doesn't collapse. Your relationships don't disappear. But a few illusions do. Carl Jung said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And guess what? One of the most socially accepted ways to avoid yourself is by living as if you're a public service, accessible 24/7, agreeable, endlessly accommodating. It looks generous, it feels noble, but it's often self-abandonment dressed as kindness. And here's the twist. The moment you stop saying yes automatically, people don't get confused. They get exposed to their expectations, exposed to their dependency, exposed to the parts of them that counted on you not having boundaries, and exposed to the parts of you that finally woke up. Because when you pause before saying yes, you're not pausing the world. You're pausing the pattern. You start noticing things you didn't see before. How many commitments you accepted out of guilt. How many favors you agreed to because you were afraid of disappointing someone. How many emotional debts you keep paying that no one ever asked you if you wanted to incur. And the moment you say no to something small, something harmless, your nervous system does something interesting. It exhales. For the first time in a while, it realizes you're actually protecting yourself rather than sacrificing yourself. There's a psychology behind this. People with porous boundaries often learned early in life that harmony equals safety. Conflict felt dangerous, rejection felt unbearable, and love felt conditional. So you adapted. You became agreeable, reliable, predictable, easy to love and convenient to use. But here's what no one tells you. When you stop saying yes to everyone, you don't become difficult. You become authentic. Your yes regains meaning. Your time regains value. Your energy regains direction. And people respond to you differently, not because you've changed into someone colder, but because you stop performing someone warmer. There's a difference. Healthy people adjust to your boundaries. Unhealthy people punish you for having them. And your life becomes radically simpler when you stop confusing the two. There's this quote often misattributed to Jung, but aligned with his ideas. What you allow is what will continue. Whether he said it or not, the truth inside it is undeniable. When you stop allowing your time to be taken without consideration, the takers vanish. When you stop tolerating disrespect, the disrespectful retreat. When you stop engaging with emotional chaos, the chaotic finds someone else to drain. But something bigger happens too, something internal. You finally meet the version of yourself that's been waiting behind the curtain. The one that knows your limits, the one that knows your value, the one that speaks softly but stands firmly, the one you abandoned because the world taught you that your worth had to be negotiated. There's a strange peace in reclaiming your no. It feels like coming home, like discovering a doorway you didn't know existed because you were too busy holding everyone else's open. And here's the irony that nobody expects. When you respect your limits, your life expands. When you protect your energy, your relationships improve. When you stop saying yes to everyone, you say yes to the right things. Your purpose, your sanity, your truth. People around you might react. Some will admire the change. Some will resist it. Some will disappear. But all of that is feedback, not failure. Because the moment you stop being universally available, life stops treating you like a universal resource. You begin to see your time as finite, your well-being as non-negotiable, your peace as a currency, and your boundaries not as barriers, but as clarity. Clarity about who you are, clarity about what matters, clarity about who gets access to you and who never deserved it. This isn't about becoming selfish, it's about becoming sovereign. It's about remembering that yes is a gift, not a default setting. It's about recognizing that your value isn't located in your availability, but in your presence. And your presence becomes stronger, sharper, deeper when you stop scattering it in every direction. So here's the shift. When you stop saying yes to everyone, you don't lose people. You lose the people who were only there because you never said no. And you gain yourself. That's where everything changes. Sometimes the world teaches you to be agreeable long before you understand the cost. You grow up believing kindness is the same thing as compliance, and acceptance is earned by carrying more than you can hold. But here's the plot twist nobody mentions. Every time you say yes to everything, you're quietly saying no to yourself. And that's where things begin to break. People think boundaries are about rejecting others. They're not. Boundaries are about no longer rejecting yourself. Carl Jung used to say that the greatest burden a child carries is the unlived life of the parent. But adults do something similar. They carry the unlived life of everyone around them. The friend who always needs something, the co-worker who depends on your emotional labor, the family member who knows you'll say yes because you always have. You become the reliable one, the available one, the one who never pushes back. And the truth is, that identity feels good at first. It gives you a place in the world. But eventually, it traps you. Here's what really happens internally. Your nervous system starts running on survival mode. You override your intuition. You ignore your fatigue. You postpone your own goals because you're carrying the weight of other people's expectations. And the most dangerous part, you normalize it. You call it being strong, being helpful, being the good one. But your body knows the truth before your mind accepts it. It whispers through burnout, irritability, resentment, or that subtle exhaustion you pretend isn't there. Jung had a word for this: shadow work. It's what emerges when your outer persona, the helpful version of you, clashes with the inner truth you've been neglecting. You can only suppress your shadow for so long before it demands to be heard. And it always does. But here's the fascinating part. Psychology rarely puts in simple words. When you stop saying yes to everyone, you're not becoming selfish. You're becoming whole. Because wholeness requires differentiation. It requires knowing your own limits, your own values, your own rhythm. Not the rhythm the world forces on you, the one your soul would choose if given the chance. And something incredible happens when you make this shift. The people who are using you vanish, and the people who truly value you stay. It's not punishment. It's filtration. Your energy becomes a natural sorting mechanism. Here's the irony. People respect you more when you stop being completely available, because availability creates an illusion of infinite supply. And humans, as a species, undervalue anything they believe is infinite. But when you choose where you place your time, attention, and presence, you create gravity. People feel it. They notice the difference between your obligated yes and your genuine yes. One drains you, the other expands you. And the science behind it is simple. When you stop automatically complying, you restore agency in your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for intention, boundaries, and choice. Your nervous system shifts from hypervigilance to self-ownership. You stop absorbing emotional noise that isn't yours. But let's make this real. Think of the last time you agreed to something you truly didn't want to do. Did you feel proud? Or did you feel a quiet ache in your chest? That small collapse that happens when you betray your own voice. Now think of a time you said no, a clear, grounded no. Maybe your heart raced. Maybe your hands shook. But after that initial discomfort, didn't you feel stronger? Didn't something inside you finally exhale? That exhale is your authentic self returning. And here's where it gets powerful. When you stop saying yes to everyone, you don't lose your relationships. You lose the versions of them that were built on convenience instead of respect. You lose the roles that were draining you. You lose the expectations that were never fair to begin with. And what you gain is far greater. Clarity, energy, agency, and a self-respect that quietly reshapes your entire life. Because the world doesn't change when you set boundaries. Your place in the world changes, and that changes everything. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for having needs. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself. And life responds. Your goals stop waiting in the background. Your creativity returns. Your emotional bandwidth expands. You suddenly have time for the things that actually matter, the things that were suffocating under the weight of your people-pleasing. And here's the twist most people never notice. When you stop saying yes to everyone, you create space for the people who were meant for you all along. People who respect you, people who reciprocate, people who don't confuse your kindness with permission to drain you. This isn't the end of your relationships. It's the recalibration of your entire identity. And once you cross that line, you don't go back, because there's a moment, a quiet, unmistakable one, when you realize the world didn't collapse when you said no. You didn't lose anything. You simply stopped losing yourself. And once you taste that freedom, once you feel that alignment, you understand something Jung hinted at. Your life belongs to you, and every yes you give the world should be chosen, not extracted. There comes a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when you stop living as an extension of everyone else's expectations and finally begin living as yourself. And the surprising truth, the world doesn't collapse when you stop saying yes to everyone. It reorganizes, because when you stop over-giving, over-agreeing, over-accommodating, people don't lose access to you. They just lose access to the version of you that abandoned yourself to keep them comfortable. And that shift, this subtle but seismic shift, is what Carl Jung was pointing to when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Most people say yes automatically because they don't even notice the patterns that drive them. But once you notice, you can't unnotice. Your nervous system feels the difference before your mind understands it. There's a strange calm, a strange clarity, and if we're honest, a strange fear too. You start asking yourself, why did I say yes for so long? Why was I so available to everyone except myself? Why did it feel safer to disappoint me than to disappoint someone else? And the answer is not dramatic. It's not some grand psychological catastrophe. It's simple. We learn to do it. We're trained into it. We're rewarded for it. Childhood teaches compliance. Adolescence teaches belonging. Adulthood teaches performance. But very few people are taught self-respect. So the first time you say no with sincerity, not anger, not guilt, just clean self-alignment, it feels like betraying a rule you didn't know you agreed to. And here's the twist. Some people will react as if you broke something sacred, not because you did, but because your old yes served them too well. You weren't setting boundaries. You were buffering their needs. You weren't being kind. You were being absent from yourself. You weren't being generous. You were being drained. And when you change the choreography, anyone who depended on the old steps will stumble. Let them stumble. This is the part no one tells you. Your life doesn't get lighter when you stop saying yes to everyone. It gets clearer because clarity exposes relationships that only worked when you were over-functioning. Clarity reveals the invitations you accepted out of fear, obligation, or habit, not desire. Clarity pulls you back into your own center. And for a moment, that center feels unfamiliar. Growth always feels unfamiliar at first. And then something powerful happens. You start noticing the things you actually want. You rediscover your preferences, your desires, your pace, your rhythm. Your nervous system, once stretched too thin, begins to exhale. Your days become more intentional. Your attention becomes more selective. Your energy stops leaking into places that never honored it. Saying no becomes less dramatic, less emotional, less exhausting. It becomes a simple act of alignment. Here's what shifts next. People stop assuming you're available by default. You stop being the fixer, the rescuer, the dependable, one who never has needs. You stop shaping your entire identity around what you give. Instead, your presence becomes a choice, not a duty, a contribution, not a sacrifice. And that's when the right people begin to appear. Because when you stop saying yes to everyone, you start recognizing who respects your no. You start seeing who adjusts, who listens, who grows with you. The ones who value your boundaries are the ones who value you. And the ones who disappear, they weren't losing access to you. They were losing access to your compliance. And that is not a loss, it's liberation. This is where purpose rebuilds itself. When your yes is no longer automatic, it becomes meaningful again. You start saying yes to things that expand you, to people who nourish you, to work that energizes you, to silence that heals you, to boundaries that protect you, to a life that finally looks like yours. This is the turning point of the whole journey. You don't stop saying yes, you just stop saying yes to everyone but yourself. Self-respect is not rebellion. It's remembering who your life belongs to. And here's the part Jung would highlight if he were narrating this moment with us. When you honor your boundaries, you integrate the parts of yourself you abandoned. And a person who is whole, a person who is internally congruent, is someone the world cannot easily manipulate. You become grounded, attentive, clear, consistent. Someone whose presence holds weight. Someone who doesn't scatter their energy to prove their worth. You start moving differently, speaking differently, choosing differently. Your relationships recalibrate. Your patterns soften. Your self-trust strengthens. Your world shifts because you shifted. And what happens next? Everything changes. Not because people suddenly transform, but because you are no longer participating in dynamics that shrink you. When you stop saying yes to everyone, you stop abandoning yourself. You stop betraying your inner guidance. You stop apologizing for needing space, time, rest, clarity, or truth. You begin honoring the life you've been avoiding while trying to hold everyone else's world together. The moment you reclaim your yes, your entire life takes a deeper breath. And that breath, that's the beginning of the person you were always meant to be. Subscribe, stay close, and keep walking with us. This is Human Wave, where awakened minds rise into a life of wholeness and fulfillment.